Personally, my favorite thing about watching college football is watching who emerges onto the next level of football, especially at the quarterback level. We saw a lot. I wouldn't say great quarterback play, but we saw a lot of quarterbacks emerge this weekend. And I'm wanting to go over. I have a list of about 15 here that I want to go over, and some of them improved in a good way, some of them regressed, and they're pretty much the names that I'm going to be looking at this season. It's not a comprehensive list of all of them that I'm going to be looking at, but at least in what showed me in week 2. The first one that I have to go over is, well, really the game anyways, is Alabama versus Texas. I heard people before this game either saying that Texas was going to lose by 20, or they had a slight possibility of an upset, which that almost happened. Alabama just won this 20-19. For this, the reason why I wanted to watch this game was pretty much because of Quinn Ewers and Bryce Young. Quinn Ewers, I wanted to see a true freshman and see what he could do on his first big start. However, I only got to see him for about half the game because he got hit and had a shoulder injury, which more than likely he's going to be out for some time with that. The worst thing is whenever you have especially such a young player, and they get an injury and they're just out for maybe half of a season or the rest of the season. But I mean, he could be in next game, he could be out the entire rest of the season. What I get from it is that it's probably at least going to be a few games. Which, yeah, I was really hoping to see a great quarterback battle in this game. However, that didn't really happen. Just super bummed that Quentin Ewers is probably going to be out for a while this season. I was really excited on getting to see him play and evolve as quarterback. Bryce Young, on the other hand, was pretty much, he didn't play a horrible game. He was pretty consistent throughout that entire rest of the game. What really killed Alabama was that they couldn't get anything running. At the fourth quarter, on the very last drive, when they need 3 points, they at least need a kick. They don't need a touchdown. They need 3 points. He needs to be the guy to step up. He can go in there. He can get the job done pretty much by himself. And when it matters, he can perform. And he can win those games. But that final drive still shows why he is the level of quarterback he is. The next quarterback I'm going to talk about, and really about the entire game, is JT Daniels and West Virginia. I can right now go ahead and say that the best thing about at least that game, and probably the entire West Virginia football team, is that the best thing about it is JT Daniels. Even in his first game, while he made improvements in this game, in this next game, he kept improving. Man, I guess the big takeaway from this is that I still think West Virginia is a very good football team. Their last 2 games, it's been close. They were playing a different Kansas team than what Kansas has been in recent years. These last 2 years, they have consistently gotten better. Kansas has. I was hoping West Virginia had so many problems up front on defense. I think it was somewhere like the back end of the defense was leading in tackles than the front end of the defense. Kansas just rushed the ball down their throat the entire time. And the front end of the defense, they just couldn't stop it. They looked like the more physical, just larger team. Which leaves JT Daniels, in my opinion, the best quarterback without a win right now. I'm pretty sure. But But the improvement that JT Daniels has made, I think since last year, is pretty good. He's pretty consistent. He has good yardage on both games he's played, and he is definitely a quarterback that I'm going to be watching for the rest of the season. So, West Virginia, as a whole, they've lost their first 2 games. They've lost to Pittsburgh, they've lost to Kansas. Their next 2 games is Towson and Virginia Tech, which are extremely winnable games. After Towson and after Virginia Tech, they have Texas, they have Baylor, which they're going to be huge underdogs in both of those games. So they've already played 2. They have 2 very winnable games, and then they have Texas and they have Baylor. That is half of the regular season. So West Virginia, at the midway point through the season, is more than likely going to be 2-4. That means that I think West Virginia will be the best team with only a 2-4 record at the middle of the season. You know, it doesn't really get better on throughout. They play Texas Tech, which that's not a gimme. They play TCU. That's not a gimme. They play Iowa State, Oklahoma, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State. Their season ain't looking good. I could right now go ahead and say that if they lose the games that they need to get the upset in, and not even a large upset, we're only looking at 2 to 4 wins this season. And if they only win 2 to 4 games this season, they will be the best team with the worst record. They will have the best quarterback with the worst record. So yeah, that's West Virginia. Okay, so the quarterback that I'm going to go ahead and put as my Heisman dark horse, Austin Reed out of WKU. These last 2 games, I'm pretty sure he does lead in passing yards for 2 games. I'm pretty sure he does. I actually didn't get to watch these games. I was looking around on ESPN, pretty sure they didn't have them. I was also looking around on Fubo, pretty sure they didn't have them. So I just had to settle for highlights for this game. And it was mostly just Austin Reed throwing. It was pretty much all of the highlights of this game. He is definitely a quarterback that I'm going to be watching. I think everybody else should be watching this season. Sam Hartman came out his first game for Wake. I think Wake Forest is a real dark horse to win the ACC. They're looking pretty good. They haven't had too much in terms of strength of schedule these first 2 games. I think Sam Hartman, watch him because I think he is a real contender for the Heisman. So another game, Arkansas versus South Carolina. I was not sure what to expect out of this game. I think I got about what I expected. Fairly high scoring, a 2-touchdown loss. I expected Arkansas to do what they did. They run the ball straight through South Carolina. And on top of that, their defense completely just outclassed their offensive line. And that's probably going to be for the rest of the year. You just can't fix an offensive line on a week-by-week basis. They just got physically dominated up front. They did. This is really the first game we got to really see Spencer Rattler see what he can do. And it's not bad. It's actually pretty good. He's still a extremely talented quarterback. And if you think that Spencer Rattler for a second is washed up, I really think you're wrong. Just as a quarterback, he still needs to improve. He's not as consistent as he needs to be. And that mostly is coming from he's getting rushed a lot. He's getting so much pressure in the pocket. Spencer Rattler would have looked quite a bit better if the South Carolina offensive line just didn't get pretty beat up that game. He was getting a lot of pressure on him, probably had to make fast calls. He ended up making bad calls because of that. And overall, Spencer Rattler, I'm going to go ahead and say, is one of the better aspects of that team. I think he is another quarterback to just have your eye on. I don't think he's washed up in any means, and I still think he's a super talented quarterback. We finally got to see Bo Nix play to the level that I think Bo Nix is capable of. This is the game that showed me improvement. Bo Nix is just another quarterback I'm going to be watching. So yeah, keep your eye out on him. Tyler Van Dyke out of Miami is also another very real candidate for the Heisman. He's a good quarterback. He is. They're going to Texas A&M next week. I'm feeling quite a bit better about Miami than I am Texas A&M. Miami versus Texas A&M is probably going to be the game, the highlight game next week. Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke, a real Heisman candidate. Stetson Bennett for Georgia. Each game that he plays, they've only played 2 games, I know, but the improvement from last year to this year, it's like a 180. He's cool. He's confident. I saw Stetson Bennett this week just pop off. He pops off. He was showing a little bit of speed. I saw him take off the ball, a little burst speed there. He's extending plays. He's just not in the pocket. He's moving around. He's extending plays. I think he's gotten bigger. He just looks bigger, like he's put on like 10 pounds of muscle on the off season. Yeah. Last year, I wouldn't have said that Stetson Bennett is starting NFL material. He's not. Last year, I would have said that. This year, though, there is so much improvement to his game, and I know it's only week 2. However, he is right now looking like he doesn't look under 3rd round. He doesn't. But yeah, in here, Stetson Bennett is probably personally my favorite player. I just liked his story, and the overall improvement that he has made, that I think he's made in these last 2 games, is evident. But yeah, I'm going to keep watching him, and who knows where he could go. Okay, so the last quarterbacks, and pretty much the game I'm going to be talking about, is Kentucky versus Florida, of course. But all bias aside, I don't want to show bias in any of these games. Of course, at some point I'll probably change this. When I was setting all of this up, I thought about taking down all of my Kentucky stuff, just because I kind of just don't want to show bias. But I don't have too much to show off, so to have an interesting background, I'm going to keep it up there, okay? I want to start off by saying the Kentucky is the better team. I was also in shock at what primarily just Anthony Richardson did to Utah. But what that shows me, going from the Utah game to the Kentucky game for Florida, is that Florida is a extremely volatile team. And that isn't bad. What that means is that they are extremely young. And I think I want to stress this for Florida fans. They are a super young team and staff right now. If you think that what they did against Utah was a fluke, it's not. They just have to channel that to be more consistent when they get in the games. That's it. You just got to give them time. Anthony Richardson is still an extremely talented quarterback. And by the way, Anthony Richardson, this should have not been his 3rd start. in college. It just shouldn't have been. He should have been starting the entire time last season. So, that is why right now, he is the way he is. It's just that the Billy Napier staff has to prove to a lot of Gator fans that they are capable of taking an extremely talented quarterback and not wasting him. They need to prove that they can take an extremely talented quarterback and turn him into what the current state of football needs. And that is a high, productive, extremely talented quarterback. Just give him time. I know, that's what everybody said about Dan Mullen, and look where Dan Mullen got you. However, Billy Napier is not Dan Mullen. I have pretty good faith in the Billy Napier era of Florida football. Will Levis, on the other hand, I think for the first time, he didn't have to make plays to win Kentucky that game, but his consistency pretty much proved to me that he is the level of quarterback that can go on and succeed on the next level. So yeah, I wasn't buying into the Will Levis hype as much as many other Kentucky fans was. I knew he was a good quarterback, and I knew that he would probably have a future in the NFL. But to what extent would that future be? He has shown improvement from last year, and his consistency to make plays has increased threefold from last season. Now, why Will Levis isn't the primary reason why they won that game, really the defense.